And Arsenal with that 3-0 victory against Bournemouth on Saturday evening. And then Sunday brought the chaos. Leeds, 3-0 winners against Chelsea. West Ham yet to score, yet to get a point, and they were beaten 2-0 at home by Brighton. Then Newcastle were 3-1 up against Manchester City. City brought it back to a 3-3 draw, but a huge point in terms of morale and confidence for Newcastle United. Then, of course, we have Manchester United against Liverpool. All of which means that there is only one 100% record in the Premier League, and it is Arsenal. They have 9 points from their opening 3 games and a goal difference of +7. City in second place, having dropped points against Newcastle. Leeds, Tottenham and Brighton also on 7 points. West Ham now occupy that bottom spot, but Manchester United still don't have a point this season. If they are to get their first point or points of the season, they're going to have to do it at home to Liverpool, who themselves are only in 15th. Unfamiliar territory for both of those northwest clubs. And that is where we're going to start, because although this is a huge game any season, and it's a huge game this early in this season as well, it's for different reasons from how it normally would be perceived.
Yeah, especially with the draw. There was a time yesterday when you're watching that game and you're thinking, if they do lose this game, then Liverpool, we know they definitely have to win it. I do believe that Liverpool have to win tonight, and we know for Man United, for all sorts of reasons why they have to try and win this game. It's brilliant. It's set up at such an early stage in the season, so I'm quite looking forward to the game.
Owen Hargreaves and Darren Lewis are with us as well. Owen, from a Manchester United point of view, as Righty said, it does feel like a must-win game. Even more than that, is it a must-not-lose game?
Well, I said before the Brentford game, I thought they could lose the game, but I wanted a good performance, because that's what it's come to right now. I think for United, again, I'd take a performance. I was there when they played the Liverpool and they lost 5-0. And honestly, it was soul-destroying, being pitch side. The fans were asking me, what's going on? The players, their body language, the life was just leaving everyone in the stadium. So I don't think any United fans expect to beat Liverpool today. I think a point would be, three would be great. I think you take a point, but I think you need a performance. You need something that you can go, you look at Arsenal, and you know what they have, and you know what they're building, and you see the direction they're going. There's a platform and a plan there. You look at United and you think, Brighton was pretty bad. Brentford was probably one of the worst games I think we've ever seen. So you need something where you can go, this is what we are, this is where we're going. Nobody expects United to win the league or probably even be in the Champions League places. So this is a building block, a starting point, and they just need a performance, I think. Points are extra. It's interesting that you mentioned the body language, because the common factor in both games, the Brighton and the Brentford game, is that when they conceded, it looked as though the team just fell apart, that they didn't have the confidence or the belief or whatever that intangible thing is, to be able to rescue the situation. Well, I think that's what makes, Righty knows. I've been there. That's what makes you a professional football player, is your mentality. So you get there. We all come from probably families where you have older brothers and you learn to compete. And I think for football players, it's easy when you're winning. Arsenal were going through this a few years ago, where when the chips were down, basically, they sunk, didn't they? Whereas now it looks like they're fighting back. Whereas I think for United, especially the Brentford game, David De Gea makes a terrible mistake, I understand that, but he saved United so many times. The boys got to bounce back. They got to fight. They got to be aggressive. They got to be first to every ball. And that's what I want to see tonight. I want to see the players get up and be aggressive, put some pressure on Liverpool. We saw Leeds do that against Chelsea to brilliant effect. We saw Newcastle do that against Man City. You got to have a go. And I think that's what United fans will want to see tonight. They want to see United be positive, get up and be aggressive, and try and force the issue, because they just want to see the team compete, because there's definitely more in that team than they've shown. And if it is a fragile confidence that is at Manchester United at the moment, that can't be helped by the protests that we're expecting to take place before the game against Liverpool. No, it can't. And it's one of the many reasons why us in the newspapers have got so much to go out with this game. We've been clearing lots and lots of space to cover this, because it isn't just the football, it's the politics. And
a big part of the poor performances is the leadership at the top, which has been articulated very often at some length. All of the things that Owen has just said come into play as well. So it isn't just about what we see on the pitch. The fans now have had enough and they want this change of ownership. We hope, obviously, everyone stays safe and within the boundaries of order, shall we say. But I kind of wonder whether, on the back of what you were just saying, whether the players who are not, their confidence is fairly fragile as things stand at the moment. Could the intensity of the fan anger tonight also play a part in undermining what they're trying to do? Particularly because if you're Liverpool, you're in your dressing room and you're saying, look, we were saying about this beforehand, start fast, get in their faces, see what they're made of, score early, watch them crack, fall apart, fill your boots. And I would imagine that if that were to be the case, the anger of the fans will only intensify. So this is a big event on two levels tonight. The football, obviously, but the reaction of the fans pre-match, during the match, and possibly even post-match.
The worry is, Kels, is that it is against Liverpool. They're fierce rivals. They are coming off of 2 losses. And, if it's a situation where Liverpool do start fast, which we're going to do, Owen, you're, as a manager, and the Liverpool dressing room, the fans, you want Liverpool to go out and really put them under pressure right from the off, because nothing I've seen from Man United in the previous games and games last season says to me, when they go back, apart from if Ronaldo is playing, that they have got the character to come back and put a team performance together of structure and organisation. I've not seen it for so long. This is why I'm with Owen on this one, where I can't see how they actually beat a Liverpool side over 90 minutes, knowing what Liverpool need right now. They cannot afford to let City get away. And yes, you have to say City dropped 2 points against Newcastle, even though Newcastle were brilliant. But the thing is, Liverpool have to win the game. And there's nothing about Man United that makes me feel, what I've seen up to this point, that they can not only score against Liverpool, but keep Liverpool out as well. It really is a sad situation for the fans to go to a game, whether they go to the game to protest or watch, to see probably like what Owen has to do. They just want to see a performance. They're not bothered about winning at the moment. They just need a performance.
I think the difference between the two clubs and teams is that whatever happens with Liverpool tonight, they have a plan, they have an identity, they have a respect for their head coach. We all know what direction they're going in. They have ambition. They've got quality players, all of whom fit a profile that the club want to follow. Their recruitment's outstanding. The list is as long as your arm. All of the opposite applies to Manchester United, and that's why tonight is so febrile.
And knowing the Premier League, United probably win 1-0 now.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but where they were vulnerable in those games against Brighton and Brentford particularly was the pressing. And I know you said a David De Gea mistake at the beginning, but it came from Brentford players taking the ball off Manchester United players. They were quicker to each of those balls. Yeah, I mean, the little things. Fred's out of position on that one. It just allows that space for them to go into. Obviously, they're trying to play out. Why Eriksen's in defensive movement position, I'll never know. But the problem is, you see, there's so many mistakes in these games from United, and then the confidence starts to go down, and they don't have the confidence to get back. So, obviously, Brentford are brilliant on set pieces. They showed that. And I think for United, these goals are just... I mean, look, the execution, Tony, Buemo, it's fabulous. Don't get me wrong. But how's Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw getting done so easily? So, obviously, for Ten Hag, it's huge because he wants the boys to play out from the back. They've got punished in both games playing that way. Do you do that against Liverpool, who are one of the best sides in the world? Because I've been there last year against City and Liverpool where they were trying to play out and they were getting picked off, and the fans in the end started saying, kick it long, kick it long, because they were getting caught. So it's a new manager. It's his, third game in the Premier League. Does he stick to his philosophy of keep trying to play out? Exactly. Or does he say, look, we got to find a way to get a result and get a performance? And I'm curious to see what he does. I think he's going to try and play out, and I think Liverpool are going to be waiting. I think if he does that, I think that'll be a big mistake. I think he has to be more pragmatic with his approach tonight, simply because of how important this game is. What we saw from Man United, even on the Ole, is they're capable of counter-attacking. Yeah. They can do that. So with everything that's going on with Man United, that's probably what I'm saying. Like, I'm a manager, but obviously I'm not. But the fact is that seems to me the best way
you might be able to get something from Liverpool is if you can frustrate them. We've seen it happen. We saw it at Palace. If you can frustrate them and then you can get something on the break, because I cannot see them playing through it or trying to attack Liverpool and not getting punished at the back, especially when you see the goals that we just saw against Brentford.
And yet, even if you agree that that's the right way to approach it, what Erik ten Hag has said in an interview this week is, I'm here, it's a difficult position. I've been in difficult positions before. The way that I get through them is to stick to my principles, to make sure the players stick to my principles. What he's saying doesn't seem to indicate that that's what he's going to do.
I agree. And I think for us in the media, when we go to games like this, we sometimes are minded to give particularly new managers a chance, some time, because you have to. He's come into a new league, new team. But the fact is that United don't have time. All of the teams, the other teams in the top six, even the ones that are aspiring, have rebuilt or are in the process of rebuilding or have elite managers like Spurs. And so by the time United get to where they want to be, the others could have disappeared over the horizon. So they need somebody who is pragmatic, someone who does have a plan, who can command respect, who can basically look at the opposition and say, yes, I want to stick to my principles, but maybe not for this one. Maybe I do need to play a longer ball. Maybe I do need to play it in a fashion that allows my players to be able to express themselves. It might not be pretty, but I need to get a result from this. I expect tonight to see a lot of my colleagues in the media writing about a difficult night for Manchester United, because I think he will want to stick by his principles, and I think he'll come a cropper as a result.
So from what we've seen so far this season, not pre-season, but this season from Manchester United and last season, it looks like it could be a difficult night. Let's start to look at what the positives might be. We saw when Rafael Varane came in last season, they announced his arrival on the pitch before the Leeds game. Manchester United went in 1-5-1. It lifted the crowd. It seemed to lift and galvanise the players. It looks like they're going to bring Casemiro in, and they're bringing in a player with that wealth of experience, that winning mentality, and that might just be something that can tip the players into, I don't know, a form of self-belief.
Well, I think the boys need somebody else in with them. You can see that. You can see the fact that they're really struggling confidence-wise. And he's 30 years old. He's won 5 Champions Leagues. He's at the base of one of the best midfields we've ever seen with Modric and Kroos. I think he's just what they need. He's got a mentality that he expects to win. He demands to win. And the point is, you need more players like that in and around that. I think United lost so many leaders and captains over a relatively quick space of time. Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, the list goes on forever. And I don't feel like they have that nucleus there. I think he's a guy, you think about De Gea, you got Varane, you got Casemiro, you got Ronaldo. There's a decent spine there. And they need to come together, and I think he's perfect for them. Look, he's not going to score a ton of goals or get a ton of assists, but in terms of demanding the most from your teammates, you almost couldn't get a better guy. He's just a little bit old and probably costs a lot of money, but they're paying a premium for something really special. I mean,
how difficult was that position? You played a similar position, didn't you, to Casemiro? How difficult is it? Because he had lots of legs. Like, he's got Rodrigo, and he's got Vinicius Jr., and he's got 2 really highly intelligent attacking midfielders, Modric and Kroos in front of him. He's got Tchouaméni in there as well. Obviously, if they choose to play them alongside each other. Whereas at United, there isn't that quality, is there, on the same level?
Well, probably not. But I think if you look at all the teams that have won, whether it's Champions League, Premier Leagues, World Cups, they've all had that guy. Whether it's, Kante at Leicester and at Chelsea and with France. You look at what Fabinho's done, Makelele, you look at what Fabinho's done for Liverpool. Every team, as much as we all talk about the front 3 and Alisson and Van Dijk, you need that guy in there, because when you have so many attacking players, they're kind of at the base of it. And I think Casemiro does that for United. So I hope he can do it, but it's a big ask for one guy to come and
That's what I'm asking. Was it hard for you when you played that position?
I love that role, because I just think I love the fact that I could do a job for the team, stop the opponent's best player, and get it to the guys that make a difference. And that's my job. Righty's got to get the ball in the area. We got to get it to the guys that go win you the game. But sometimes you need guys that are there to keep the ship up when it's going down. Yeah. And right now it looks like they don't have enough of those guys.
He might well be able to galvanise them from the touchlines. Obviously not going to be able to play that role tonight because he won't be available for selection for Manchester United, but we're trying to look at the positives for them. And one of them has been the early season form of Liverpool as well, who have not really been tearing up any trees, certainly not against Fulham, and maybe slightly improved against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, but what I think that Fulham surprised us all with that unbelievable performance. Fulham very unlucky not to win the game. I don't think you can blame Liverpool too much. Yes, they've lost Thiago now. I'm not sure if Anderson's going to be fit as well. They've lost their midfield where they needed to be able to control and manage the game. Fulham pressed them so much. It's the most uncomfortable I've ever seen a Liverpool midfield. So you have to give Fulham credit for that. So I won't be too harsh on Liverpool in that respect, simply because of they must have been surprised with Fulham. And I think the same with Palace. Palace played brilliantly on that counter-attack. Wilfried Zaha was magnificent. And it was another game that it was very, very tough for Liverpool, but they got themselves back in it. You know, poor from Fabinho there, the way he should have held up. But then this is where you want Wilfried Zaha in this kind of situation. He was up front on his own most of the game, and he was causing problems. Should have scored another couple of goals. But why I'm not so disappointed with Liverpool is because, you know, they've had two very tough games. That doesn't help. No. Especially when, you know, he could have been playing tonight up against, I don't know, Martinez and you know, somebody he could have put a lot of pressure on and stuff. He's not playing, and that kind of cost them. But when you've got someone like Luis Diaz who's doing stuff like this is out of the blue. This is him taking the game by the scruff of the neck. That's what Liverpool have got. They've got somebody who can do that. And whereas, you know, I'm not looking at Liverpool side, Kelly, that are, my gosh, Liverpool are so out of sorts. They're not. They've played two very, very organised teams, and they still didn't lose. And tonight, they know that they're coming up against a team that's not so organised, with a lot of pressure, their main rivals, and they could really put them to the sword.
But you know as well as anybody that the injuries that they have in midfield, not being able to put your best players in the heart of midfield in an important game, could be a huge setback for them. And look, it's not just midfielders who are injured, but there is a significant number of them who are going to be missing.
But I think a couple of years ago, I would have worried for Liverpool. Now I think the depth is fantastic. They got so many great players. Okay, you're going to miss Thiago, you know, and Konate. I think they're the only two really. But I think they got so many weapons that can go in and do a job in there. James Milner plays everywhere, does a job, whether it's Jordan Henderson or Fabinho. They have so many good guys. Obviously, Harvey Elliott, he's lovely, isn't he? He's a good player. So I like the fact that Jurgen Klopp, he doesn't make excuses. You know, he'll put out a good team and he'll expect the same. Doesn't matter if, you know, Fabinho or Henderson or Milner's playing. All the boys will do the same job. And that midfield's more functional rather than creative.
And it's about getting them to the front three. It looks like it's going to be Firmino, Salah and Diaz, because they're the front three who are fit at the moment.
I was going to say, when you were saying it's a shame about Nunes, I was like, Fabinho will be delighted, you know, because he'll be playing. I think as far as the Liverpool front three is concerned, it's their work rate that is just on a different level to anybody in the Manchester United team at the moment. And I think they are going to start really fast and really give them something to think about from the first whistle. And that's the reason why I think it's going to be... I know lots of people believe it will be a high score, not just because one team's good and one team's bad, but one team works as a very basic fundamental. One team works and one team doesn't.
For many years now as well. That's the thing with it, Darren, is they're organised, they know what pressure is for a few years now. So coming into this game, I probably, if I'm Liverpool at the moment, I'm very confident, because unless we do not perform or we really slack off, or Man United do not play in a low block and try and hit the counter-attack, I cannot see how Man United are going to beat Liverpool.